Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. We want to show you a new image of Ceres and the Ceres lights, the dwarf planet known for the mysterious lights found in one of its most largest craters, and that we've done many videos on in the past, and I will put a link down in the video description to some of these past videos and the anomalies we found on there. So this picture was sent to me on Twitter, and it's a more high-resolution image of these lights on Ceres, these glowing lights. And the poster of the tweet said, "Hey, look at this square object just to the right of the massive, largest glowing object in the crater that looks like the monolith that was found on Mars and also Phobos. Phobos being a moon of Mars." So I took a look at the image and I zoomed in on it, and sure enough, there is a square-looking object with four corners on the ground, and it definitely looks similar to the monoliths, which are these large, square, towering structures that were found on Mars and Phobos. Now, if you haven't seen those images, here is the, and we're saying monolith in quotations because that's what it looks like. If you've ever seen the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, that is the type of object we're talking about. These large, square, black or white colored pieces of stone or whatever material sticking up out of the ground almost like a monument. So here's the so-called Mars monolith that has got a lot of attention in the past years, and as you can see, it definitely has some similarity to this square object found on Ceres. Now, some have said that these monoliths are markers placed there showing that whatever planet or moon that has one has been visited or has been occupied. Sort of like planting their flag, like we did on the moon. And another monolith that looks very similar is to the one found on Phobos, which is a moon, a very interesting and mysterious moon of Mars. And we definitely want you to know about Phobos, so we're going to talk a little bit about that here, if you don't already know. But many people believe that Phobos, which is this very oddly shaped and a mysteriously orbiting moon of Mars, that many have said in the past is artificial and hollow. People have also said that it has characteristics on the outside of it that are indicative of someone mining the structure. And as you're seeing images here of Phobos, we have these long lines that basically wrap around it, which is very interesting, and we don't really see on any other bodies in the solar system, as if these marks have been chiseled all the way around it, as you would see in possible mining vehicles. In fact, the European Space Agency, or ESA, which is the European equivalent of NASA, has basically confirmed what has long been rumored, which is that Mars moon Phobos is hollow, and it's possibly artificial, likely. The ESA study, which has appeared in Geophysical Research Letters, states that Phobos is not a captured asteroid, which is sort of an old explanation for Phobos, and the many anomalies were accepted by science for many years. Here is an old illustration about what the interior of Phobos might look like, hollowed out. And so the ESA reported independent results from two subgroups of the Mars Express radio science team, who independently analyzed Mars Express radio tracking data for the purpose of determining consistently the gravitational attraction of the moon Phobos on the MEX spacecraft, and hence the mass of Phobos. And they concluded that the interior of Phobos likely contained large voids. When applied to various hypotheses bearing on the origin of Phobos, these results were inconsistent with the proposition that Phobos is a captured asteroid. The official ESA Phobos website offers explicit scientific data from multiple perspectives, which strongly support the idea that this is what radar echoes would look like coming back from inside an enormous, hollow, possibly geometric spaceship. Phobos has an internal 3D geometric radar signature. The concurrence of all three of these independent Mars Express experiments, imaging, internal mass distribution, tracking, and internal radar imaging, now agree that the interior of Phobos is partially hollow, with internal geometric, quote, voids inside it. So it's very likely that Phobos is not a natural moon and not a captured asteroid, and that it is hollow. And that is exactly what Russian scientist Dr. Shklovsky found back in the 1960s. The astrophysicist first calculated the orbital motion of Phobos. He came to the inescapable conclusion that the moon is artificial and hollow, and he realized as the years progressed into decades that Phobos' orbital velocity and position no longer matched the mathematically predicted position. He studied in depth the tidal, gravity, and magnetic forces and came to the conclusion that no natural causes could account for the origins of the two odd moons or their bizarre behavior, particularly that exhibited by Phobos. He also felt the second smaller Mars moon, Deimos, also to be artificial, and that likely someone or something had built them. So again, Phobos, Mars, and now Ceres seem to have these same almost identical square structures on their surface. Of course, we will continue researching this and see what more we can find. And by the way, speaking about Phobos, and we mentioned this before, there was also the Phobos incident, when the Russians sent 2 probes to monitor Phobos and were knocked out of orbit by a long, cigar cylindrical-shaped craft that they took a picture of before the second ship was also lost. Furthermore, Soviet Air Force Colonel Marina Popovich has gone on record stating that Phobos is an artificial structure. She gave this information to SETI's international director, Dr. Stephen Greer. Her sources also advised that it is hollow. The credentials of Marina Popovich are second to none. A PhD from the University of Leningrad, a graduate from the Military Flight School, and at the peak of her career, she set over 100 aviation records, of which 90 still stand unbroken. Her contacts on the subject stem from her former husband being the first man to rendezvous with another spacecraft in orbit during the Vostok 4 flight in August 1962. And Popovich was associated with the controversial frames that you're seeing here that were smuggled out of top-secret files. And as you can see, there's a cigar-shaped craft in a frame taken by Phobos 2, which is also the same object that is apparently casting the oblong shadow on the surface of Mars in an earlier photo seen here. In October 1989, Soviet scientists published a series of technical reports on the experiments that the Phobos 2 spacecraft did manage to conduct. The report confirms that the spacecraft was spinning after it was knocked out, either because of computer malfunction or because it was impacted by an unknown object shortly before contact was lost. So again, just to recap, Monoliths on Phobos. The Phobos 1 and Phobos 2 spacecrafts were sent out to take pictures of Mars and Phobos and were both knocked out and all contact was lost, but not before photographing a large cylindrical ship, which was then caught casting a long oblong shadow on Mars' surface. Then we have another monolith structure found on Mars, which again is very similar and brings us back to this image showing almost an identical object on Ceres in these new images. So again, there are definitely some mysterious things going on here. We'll continue to monitor them. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And as always, stick around and we'll see you back soon with much, much more.